Well, as you know, we bring you the Industrial Development Corporation feature, and that is where we bring entrepreneurship to the fore in partnership with the IDC. And we're very proud of that. And tonight we are talking to a young man from Alexandra who is involved in new clean technologies that are energy oriented. The company that he has established is called Clean Carbon Technologies. And his name is Malik Keetsi. He's from Alex. And he's here with us to tell us more about this interesting business venture. Malik, much appreciated. Well,
Thank you for the opportunity.
earlier I did ask about, I said, your name Malik is unusual. Just briefly tell me how you acquired the name.
Yeah, my dad had a fascination with Islam, and he basically named me Malik as my middle name, which means king.
Yeah.
My first name is Thato. And I know a lot of people are like, how do you get Malik?
Yeah, so it's not the first time you had somebody ask you that.
Not the first time. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
But anyway, this venture that you are involved in, the Clean Carbon Technologies, is a new company,
Yes.
yet already an international company.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a story behind that. How do you connect from Alex, connect with partners from elsewhere in the world?
Well, basically, sitting in Alex, as you know, one of the biggest things, there's a lot of problems when it comes to waste. One. Secondly, you look at big companies that exist. You've got a Cecil out here that's doing one of the biggest emissions in the world. So I sought out to find a solution that could help with emissions within the industrial sectors, and started researching individuals or businesses that are in that landscape, and stumbled upon Dr. Vivek. And we then basically started engaging telephonically over a period of months. And that relationship of months then developed into a brotherly business that we're basically running now. And through that, we then managed to get to a point where we created our own technology that can work within the industry of emissions, in successful plants and so forth.
Well, in broad terms, right? Tell me what the business is all about. I mean, you mentioned I'm talking about energy, and then you're talking about emissions, and we're talking about waste as well. So how do all of these things come together?
Well, basically, if you look at your Cecil sites and so forth, there's a process they call flaring, which is when they flare the gases, and what that does is it creates a whole lot of pollution into the air. So those are emissions. So what we do, our technology enables us to capture those emissions before they go into the air to pollute. And with the technology that we've created, we are then able to either turn the waste into carbon, which is other carbon products, or electricity and other byproducts. So the whole ideology of waste being waste is no more, because now the waste gases have now turned into a product, which is money.
Yeah. And you could turn them into chemicals if you want, or whatever.
And there's a lot of byproducts from the waste side of it. So with us capturing your emission gases on your Cecils and so forth, that on its own is a big impact, because a lot of the pollutions come from those. And the biggest problem they also had in that industry was the fact that a lot of technologies are costly. So if they're saying you as a major company need to change your way you're doing business because you're polluting, it would cost them a lot of money. And they've invested in a lot of these technologies, and some didn't work, some did. So with our technology, it's a plug and play. So what that means is we made sure that we can use this technology on any site where we can identify the business opportunity without impacting too much financial constraint on the client itself. So it's a plug and play situation.
I like your story, because, here is a concept that you did not have immediately to hand, and you were sitting here in Joburg,
Yes.
and then figuring stuff out, and then you made the connection. I mean, what is it that finally led you to your business partner?
I think more than anything was the skill sets. I mean, if I'm trying to look at creating new industries, and I couldn't find anybody who could help me with that locally. So that for me was what actually led me there, because I needed to find the perfect skill to create this product locally, and then obviously be in a position to pass those skills on, because through this we've just created a new industry. And I think the global perspective of being able to find and partner up with intellects who have skills in particular industries is what really drive me to do that.
I'm one of those people that believe that business is not just the product, product comes later, or the service, right? But that it takes a lot of the individual who is in business, their character that is, that defines what happens ultimately. So I want to talk about you. What is it that got you interested in business, as well as your approach to doing business? Because the result or the outcome thereof, as an example, is this partnership that you've just formed.
Look, I used to work for people, and working for someone would really frustrate me because, one, I'd give my all to someone and I'd only be getting a measly salary when they'd take everything. Secondly, I wanted to be in a position where I could create something that could empower my own people. And I wanted to create an industry, and that for me was the drive. And you look at economies like the US, they've started industries. So I wanted to use this as drive for me to start an industry, so we could show other young brothers in townships that we can also create our own industries just like America. And that's why I went out there.
But here's an example, though, right, of a situation. If you are, and I mean this respectfully, if you are in Alex or any township, you are exposed to what you see. So you've got let's call it a limited vision of how things should work. In your case, how did you develop the bigger vision to understand that Alex should not be a constraint, actually, as much as you grew up there, but should be something that fires your inspiration and motivation?
Well, for me, that particular reason of being in that space is what gave me that drive. I had to then go find other ways because I knew there was more. And I think just affiliating with the right people, reading a lot, and a lot of TV actually made me realize that there is opportunities. But furthermore to that, dreaming big is what it is, and believing in it. That for me was what also drove me up. Because as I say, waking up every day, you speak to young people who have great ideas, but those boundaries are there. But the problem is we are not willing to try get out of that comfort zone to go see what's out.
But here's another thing. You mentioned dreaming, which is great. You've got to imagine stuff before you start it, right? But most of the times it ends up being daydreaming. How do you make sure then that you go beyond mere dreaming and avoid it becoming daydreaming, but becomes a realizable goal?
Well, I think that's something within you. The way I see dreams is, like I say, a dream is a calling. And if you understand the philosophy that an idea or a dream has come from a higher power and it's there for you to utilize, then it shouldn't be an issue. But secondly, if you dream so hard to the point where look, I'm eating KFC today, tomorrow I want to be at Trump's, you will definitely want to move out of that situation to better your life. And that for me was another reason that made me want to turn my dream into a reality.
I suppose if you allow the dream to trouble you so hard and so much that you have to take action, see, before you lose your mind. Exactly. Well, it has to. So where to with the clean carbon technologies now? Where are you with the business?
Basically with clean carbon, right now we've started the South African entity. We are part of the IDC, we're in the IDC program. My partner's actually moving to South Africa within the next 2 weeks. So we'd basically be starting operations fully in South Africa this year. And I mean, the world is a oyster right now. So we've managed to get through the first hurdle of being able to, get someone to back us.
Well, you see, we're now in this big offices of the IDC. So it's people like you see, who got me inside the office. Let's wrap our conversation, because there are many people who are still waiting or hoping that they too will have the necessary inspiration. Very briefly, what is the story you can share with those who wish they could be talking the talk you are now?
To be honest with you, if you believe in yourself and you are committed to creating an economy, I really suggest that people should start looking at, doing and getting into business, especially young brothers. It's our time, and, business is not like before. It's about creating and owning and paying salaries to, sustain our own people. And if you're driven, this is your moment. Doors are open, and information has always been a problem for people, but you have institutions like this who are willing to listen and back you. And for me, that's a key drive
Sure.
for you to be successful.
Thato, Malik, Keetsi, much appreciated.
Thank you, Malik.
And he's the Executive Business Development with the Clean Carbon Technologies. He was talking to us from the offices of the IDC. And of course, the motto remains the same: be the one to take the lead. And that's the whole point of us talking about development of entrepreneurship in South Africa. And this feature was brought to you by the Industrial Development Corporation.